So, what follows is a quote that has changed my perspective on everything. And that quote is, people never rise above the opinion of themselves. And that's a quote from our mentor, Peter Sage. And so I'm just going to say that again because I find it just so important. People never rise above the opinion of themselves. So, why is that important? We're talking about love and relationships today on Valentine's Day. Hey, Deb, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day, Debbie.
Hey, look at us here at 7 p.m. Well, no dates tonight.
You're my date, girl. Best date ever.
All right, I agree totally. I agree. So we have many relationships in our lives. We have a relationship and loves. We might have a love for pizza if you like pizza, or our kids, or our dogs, or our cats, right? Or any of that stuff. But really, what we're talking about today is intimate relationships. And here's the deal: in intimate relationships, they magnify our emotions. So they're really important, and they can be your greatest source of joy, but they can also be your greatest source of stress and unhappiness. So, it goes both ways. And I have to say, is it okay if I tell a story right now?
Please
All right.
do. Yeah, sure.
So, uh, you know, I've been in a few relationships, and as I kind of look back on them, I really noticed that my relationships all were very similar. I had low self worth. I had this fear that I wasn't good enough, and I've been a people pleaser all my life until now. But what I was doing is I wasn't drawing boundaries, and then it became all about the other person. It became about my partner, and not about me. And that's only going to last a short time. Eventually, eventually I became begrudging, and it bothered me that everything was about him and not about me. But I was the one who put myself in that situation by not actually setting any boundaries. And that really was because I didn't have a lot of self love and self worth myself to stand up and set those boundaries. So that's kind of a little bit about me. And so happiness in your relationships really starts with you having self love. Deb, maybe you have a story.
I absolutely do, Debbie. And my story about self-love, kind of similar to yours. I also have had multiple relationships in my life, and always found myself being super giving and putting other people's needs above mine. And it felt really good to me to be doing that. I'm like, look, I'm so loving. I'm so loving. But in the end, kind of the same thing happened. My needs weren't being met. And by the time I might say, like, hey, I need something, the other person was probably so used to me being okay with nothing that they were like, you're changing the game, you're changing the rules. And I would be kind of like, well, yeah, I am changing the rules. So what are we going to do? And ultimately, I end out alone. So what I found though, with all those is exactly what you're saying. I found myself. And through this process of the EMF and going through those relationships and not valuing myself, and then waking up to the realization that I need to give in a relationship, but I also need to take. And so it should be a very reciprocal kind of relationship, but not because either one of us is coming from a place of need. I'm filling my own cup, right? I love me. And there's I don't need anybody's approval. I don't need anybody's validation. I give that to myself now. And so I haven't met the one yet, but I guarantee you that the next relationship that I get into is going to be really magnificent because I am going to show up as a full circle. I'm my own full circle. We're not halves here anymore. We're full. And that's the biggest lesson that I learned, is that I need to love me. And when I love me, there's more love for me to give to others because I've already loved myself so much. And it's that thing like the airplane, put your own oxygen mask on before you try to save someone else. Same with the love. I'm putting my own oxygen mask on so that I'm full of love and now I can love more abundantly. And that's probably been like one of the most exciting things that's happened to me, I feel like, through this process that we've gone through, is realizing that. So that's my story. And that is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about self love today and then how that kind of um, goes into our intimate relationships. So, Deb, I'm going to send it back to you. She's going to give us, guys, some really awesome ways of thinking about why does this happen to us? We're not alone. Debbie and I are not alone. We know we're not alone. That where we've kind of maybe people pleasers, given too much, give, and forget about ourselves. We are not alone. We know we're not. So she's going to give us some insight into why we do that and how to turn it around.
Yeah. Thanks, Deb. Well, one of my favorite stories, and I did not do this, okay? I did not stoop to this level, but I have an aunt who, when she first got married to my uncle, used to actually put the toothpaste on his toothbrush for him and all
Um,
these kind of things. And then when she realized, like, this is crazy, like he expected it. He
yeah, wow.
like was really upset that she stopped doing these things, and you start doing it out of kindness and, givingness, and it turns up backfiring on you. But what are you going to do? So what stops us from loving ourselves in the first place? We've already talked about how we need to have more in the tank and more self-love, but what does that start for? And Deb, believe it or not, it starts before we even remember anything. It's something that starts when we're like 18 months old. So when we're born and we're a baby, our parents are giving us unconditional love. So we're egotistical as babies. We don't care if it's 3 in the morning. If we need to eat, who cares if our parents are tired? We need to eat, and our parents still love us. They don't like turn off the love because we are imposing on them. They still love us. And the same thing, maybe you're going out to a big meeting for work or something, and you've got your new suit on and you got to hold the baby and it spits up on you and you don't got the little blob on the shoulder, before you leave the house, and you got to go and change your suit. You don't stop loving the baby. But as we develop around 18 months to 2 years, we start to have a two-way communication with our parents. And at that point, there's going to be things that we're doing that our parents approve of and we get love for. And there's going to be things that we do that maybe, like trying to touch the hot stove or run across the street where there's traffic, where our parents are going to say no. And it feels like a reprimand to us. And so we perceive that. Not saying that our parents don't love us, because they still love us, but we perceive that as being withdrawing love. And so this is where we get this perception of conditional love. And we're only going to get love when we do things that are pleasing to other people. And so that's where it stems from. And for the child and for us when we're children, even though it's perception, perception is reality. And so that's what our reality is. And we might not even remember anything until we're 4, 5, 6 years old. So
Right.
this has been going on for a long time. And we've really got this ingrained in our brains and in our behavior before we get to a point where we actually can remember things. So this is already in our subconscious, and that's where it comes from. So the question then becomes, how do we regain our self-love and our love, and build up the love and break down those walls of the conditional love that we've put up? So there are tons of ways to do it, but one of the ways is to do a journal of awesomeness. And how are you awesome? So I challenge you in the audience, if you're listening right now, to tonight write down 10 things and 10 reasons why you are awesome. Now, maybe right now you can think of one or two, but I'd like you to do 10. And then every day you should do at least one reason why you're awesome, please. And it's really important that look yourself in the mirror and say, I am awesome because I showed up today. I'm here. Deb, you're awesome because you're here with me on our little Valentine's Day. What else are you awesome about today, Deb?
Um, I guess I would say that I'm awesome today because I had fun with my students at school today, and we practiced giving compliments to each other. So I think I'm awesome for doing that. Um,
Yay.
yeah.
Yay. And I'm awesome because I'm going to do my exercise. I was tired last night and I didn't do my uh, evening exercise routine and stretching. And so I'm going to do yesterday's and today's today. So I'm going to catch
Ooh,
myself up on
that's right.
my awesomeness here. All right, Deb, I'm going to pass it back over to you to talk a little bit more about, making sure that we fill our cup and we have all that self love. And, we talked about now a little bit about how you can do that. And there's tons of ways,
Yeah.
but let's talk a little bit more about why it's so important.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Debbie. I love that. That was really awesome. And with that journal of awesomeness, I've actually put a note in my phone and I date it so that every day, I put in that like little reminder, like, oh, today I made a great dinner for my kids or whatever. So put it in your phone. And then just in case you're having a really bad day and you're like, oh, I can't think of why I'm awesome, go ahead and look back through, remind yourself that you are awesome, and then continue.
That's
We
a
can all
great
find something that we've been
suggestion.
awesome with today.
Yeah.
We're too hard on ourselves. So go ahead.
And it doesn't have to be something profound. It can be just
Mm,
little things.
yeah.
Right. And I love your idea. I do mine I do a gratitude journal, which is another way that you can be awesome. And I write why I'm awesome in my gratitude journal so that
Oh,
but I love that idea so you can look back on
great. Awesome, Deb. You're awesome for that. Thanks. So I
it.
have kind of a little story that I'm going to share to kind of put things in perspective for us, okay? So let's say you're down on your luck and you're walking around, you've got $2 in your pocket, right? And you're like, what am I going to do, right? Yeah, $2, not going to go very far, especially today, but that's not the point. So you have $2 and you're kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do. You've lost your job, you're don't have a house, you're down to your last $2, right? And you go and you find a quiet place to sit, maybe you find a gas station that has a little table, right? And they're going to let you in there because you don't need to pay to get in. And you sit down and you set your $2 down on the table and you're thinking, what am I going to do? And at that moment, somebody bursts in, grabs your $2 and takes off. Now you have nothing. They've taken the last bit of hope you had. You can't even go buy a lottery ticket now, right? You're
Mm-mm.
devastated. You're empty. You're just devastated. Okay. Now, let's suppose you, by some chance, the day before this, had taken your last $2, bought a lotto ticket, and you won. And you went and you cashed in your ticket. And now you're sitting possibly at that same gas station because I don't know how the lotto works, but the idea is that you went, you cashed in your ticket, they gave you $1 million and it's sitting there on the table, right? And you're sitting there going, wow, what am I going to do with all this? This is amazing, right? Oh my gosh, the possibilities are endless. And somebody bursts in the door and takes $2 and is out the door. Okay, now your perspective about them taking your $2 has changed because um, in the first case, you're down to your last $2 and they took it. They took the last thing that you had, your last hope. And now you have $1 million on the table and they take the $2. You're kind of like, wow, they must be pretty desperate to take that money from me. You might even be thinking, I wish they'd have stopped and talked to me. I'd probably give them $2,000 or $200,000 because I got $1 million here. So, you know, and if you can think about that money is your self-love, the love you've given yourself. Are you walking around with $2 worth of love for yourself? Or are you walking around with $1 million worth of love for yourself? Because if you're down to your last $2 and someone's like, nice shirt you're wearing today. Didn't you wear that yesterday? You're like, oh my gosh, I thought nobody would notice. And oh my gosh, oh yeah, how embarrassing, right? And you're like, I'm so stupid. I should have known, right? You pick on yourself and you talk to yourself and you get in your head. But if you absolutely love yourself, right? And somebody says something negative to you, so what? Even if you were wearing the same shirt for like the last 3 days and somebody says something to you, you're like, heck yeah, I'm wearing the same shirt for the last 3 days. I've been so busy, I didn't have time to change her. Hey, actually, I bought 10 of these shirts. That's why I'm wearing the same one. I just don't want to think about my outfit anymore. You just don't care what they're saying. You're like, hey, did I wear that yesterday? Oh, well. And you go on. You just don't care because you're so full of love for yourself. It just doesn't matter what anybody says, right? And that's kind of the goal you want to get to, or like, it doesn't matter what other people are saying. They can't steal from you what you've given yourself so fully. And the opposite of that is true. I can't say this enough. I've probably said it before, but like when your cup is so full and somebody does that thing, right? They might not even know they're doing it. They shut the door in your face by accident. Who knows? I don't know whether it's on purpose or accident, right? But I now am so happy with who I am and I feel so good that I'm not even worried about why they did the thing. I'm just like, oh well, must be having a bad day. Here, but you still hold the door for the next person. You still show up with love. And it's just amazing that ripple effect that can happen from loving yourself, really, just strongly loving yourself to the point that things just don't bother you anymore. I It's an amazing feeling. It just truly, truly is an amazing feeling
It
that
is,
I
and it's
hope you
like
all get.
it's
Go
like
ahead.
the guy who cuts you off in traffic. We talked about that last week.
Yes.
When you've got all this self-love, doesn't matter that they cut you off,
No.
you just go on. And you have more
Right.
to give to other people, when you've got all this abundance of self-love. And
It
just think
is.
what it can do for your relationships.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, your relationship with yourself, boom, skyrockets, and then your relationship with everyone around you just becomes more beautiful. So I hope
Yeah.
everyone got a little something out of that. And now Debbie is going to try to so sorry, I have a terrible cold. Debbie's going to share with us how we can kind of take this from loving ourselves. And don't get us wrong, this is not about ego, like I'm so much better than you, you're ridiculous. No, it's not that at all. It's not that. It's just from a genuine place of loving yourself so you can love others. Um, Debbie's going to tell us a little bit how to transfer that to our other intimate relationships outside of ourselves. Take
Yeah,
it, Deb.
that's good. And this might seem like we're repeating it, But this is so important. Like we could say this 100 times. Uh, if if you cannot have a fulfilling relationship with someone else, so an intimate relationship, if you don't love yourself first. And I think, Deb, you did an amazing job. You did an amazing job of explaining why you need to have $1 million worth of love and not $2 worth of love in order for that to happen. So I have an analogy that I want to share with you, and that is, imagine that you are in a garden now. And like, I'm not a gardener and I don't know a lot about plants, but you go into the garden and you see this flower that just is so amazing. You just love it. It's spectacular, beautiful colors. And so you look at it, and you think, wow, I am so enamored by this flower that I'm going to take it home with me. So you pick it and you take it home. So what have you actually done now is you've actually robbed that flower of its own expression, because when you take it home, it's going to die. And the same thing happens in our relationships. If you're in a relationship where it's based on conditional love, it's based on you have your picture of the world, and you're imposing your rules and what you think is right for a relationship on the other person. And so that might be, maybe you like to hold hands and he doesn't like to hold hands, or whatever it is. I mean, it's something simple like that. It could, you like to put toothpaste on the toothbrush, or you don't. Who knows what it's about? But when you're basing your relationship and your love on conditional love, you are not allowing the other person to be their true self. And that is the reason why, we have things that, relationships that don't work out, because it only lasts for so long. And in our kind of, if you're learning about relationships, a lot of the information and the strategies on relationships is about the communication to avoid a breakdown. So there's a lot of good information on that. But we want to challenge you that it's not about the communication to avoid a breakdown, because breakdowns do happen. Like, I mean, I might, I don't know. Um, I love, just remember when I was married, my husband, he would be so upset if I was late. Absolutely so upset if I was late. And I worked a job where, like, okay, I'm on the phone with a client. I can't just say, hey, I got to go because my husband's going to be mad at me. I would be on the phone and I would be past the time when he would pick me up for at the end of the day. He would get so mad at me for that. But, so like those kind of breakdowns are going to happen. And it's not about the breakdown, it's what you do with it and how you transcend that. And the only way to do that is with unconditional love. That's the only way that you're going to be able to do that. So unconditional love, what I'm saying, is the master skill that you need to have. And so that's where both of you, both partners, can walk your truth and not be judging of each other. And so I'm going to challenge you. So this is another challenge, not just your journal of awesomeness, um, but today or tomorrow, if it's too late, if you see someone, smile at them. And if they don't smile back at you, don't judge them. You don't know if they had a bad day or they're in their own head because they're thinking, they're deep in thought. Or, if you're walking, they might have their earbuds in and they can't even hear or see you. So don't judge them. Just give them unconditional love by smiling at them. Such an easy thing to do, and it's such a great practice for us. Deb, I'm going to turn it over to you to wrap it up.
All right. So that was really awesome. I love the analogy of the garden, and if we take it home, it starts to die. So we have to nurture, love, foster growth in each other as well as ourselves. Because when we let people grow into their full self, we benefit from their growth as well. So we want to grow ourselves and let them grow too. Um, and I don't think you said this, so I want to make sure this says
Sure.
you cannot attract somebody though that's at a different level than you. So
That's
like if you're trying to attract, your ideal person, whatever that may be for you, like they have to be this and they have to be this and they have to be that. First of all, it's a lot of demands on somebody else. Be the person, be the thing that you're looking for, that love unconditionally and unconditional love will find you. So I just want to say that. Um, Debbie and I both invite you, though, to deeper conversations. We know this is a lot, and we know this is just like tip of the iceberg
mhm.
conversation about this. There's so much to be said about, especially intimate relationships, but that really does start with the relationship with ourselves. And we've all been molded not just by our parents, and we're not blaming our parents. That has nothing to do with it. It's just the way life is. When you have to talk to your children, you have to do this. And again, it's all about the perception of love. Your parents didn't stop loving you, or maybe they did, but in general, they don't. We just feel it, and that's life. And we grow up and we start putting all these conditions on ourselves, like, I'm not good enough until. I'm not worthy unless. And we just grow up doing this to ourselves until we're telling ourselves every day, I'm not good enough. This is why I'm not. Journal of Awesomeness. You are awesome. You're here. We're here. You did something awesome today. You showed up for someone or something. You're awesome. Um, so Debbie and I both invite you though, if you want to have a deeper conversation about this, there is a link in the bottom where we would invite you to connect with us to have further conversations about this or anything else that we've discussed in the past. So happy Valentine's Day. Wishing
Yay.
everyone here lots of love. Love to you, Debbie. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I just want to add that we will put our own links for further discussions in the comments. But I am also going to add that we've added a link, a little bonus for you for sticking with us today. And it's a TED Talk from Peter Sage, and it's just got some amazing, amazing information. It's, spend 15 minutes of your day listening to that. It will really lift you up and show you a little bit more about who Peter Sage is, for sure. And if you have any questions about that after you've taken a view of it, then you know where to come. You can reach out to Deb or I. For sure. And yes, happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
We'll see you again next week. Same
Yep.
time,
Yep.
same channel. Bye, everyone.